Hello, everyone. I'm Dijon,
And I'm Aiara.
and welcome to the Mustardcast, the podcast about the art of storytelling and how it's used across different mediums. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see our channel grow, and to click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. As usual, free Palestine. Donate where you can. I'll be scrolling through what do you call them? Reels on IG, or
I
is that
believe so,
YouTube? No,
yeah.
YouTube Shorts and IG is Reels.
Yeah, YouTube is shorts. I use reels, yeah.
And every now and again it's somebody trying to get money, and even if you can't get money, the best you can do is watch the video from beginning to end, go into the comments, like and share the video so that it gets spread to someone who can. So do what you can. Even that small thing could equate to someone who has the money being able to help those people.
Mm-hmm.
um but yeah, so what media have you been interacting with lately?
I finally bit the bullet and got a PS4. I'm
Yes, I
only
forgot about that. Oh
I was gonna say
yeah.
I'm only 17 million thousand years late, but I got one. And I hate to admit it because I grew up a Nintendo kid. I didn't really have, or I had never really had any interest in like Xbox or PS4. I kind of like it better than I like my Switch.
Oh yeah, how you like that
I
that
don't.
that controller? That DualShock 4 was the best for, honestly, in terms of like
It is very nice.
feel and shape and
Mm-hmm.
like just the way the controller feels in hand. I like the DualShock 4 more than the DualSense. In terms of functionality, the DualSense can just do cooler things, and
Uh-huh.
I think it does look a little bit better, the DualSense. But in terms of just the way
Right.
it feels, I like the DualShock 4 more. And I use the DualShock 4
Real.
when I play games on my PS3.
That's real. That's real. Yeah, I like it. I've mostly been playing Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and been really enjoying that. I got the Rondo of Blood and Symphony of the Night dual pack, and with PS Plus, which is only $10 a month, surprisingly, way cheaper than I was expecting it to
Well,
be.
it depends on the
Um,
the uh, tier.
yeah, yeah. I just got the basic tier because I don't. I might upgrade at some point, but like for now, I think just the basic tier is enough for me.
Yeah, a friend of
And
mine. You're just getting PS4. A friend of mine is. He actually texted not too long ago that his PlayStation 5 that he just got. This is his first PlayStation ever. Is coming
mhm.
a day early. It's coming today. It's supposed to come tomorrow,
Oh,
and he's hyped
nice.
because he's a big Monster Hunter fan. But Monster Hunter
Mhm.
World was only on PlayStation. Um,
Oh,
and he
okay.
got a Switch not too long ago, so he's playing a bunch of like Nintendo games and some of the like third party games that are on the Switch. Like
Right.
he's been playing a lot of Apex and stuff like that on there, but now he's
Mhm.
getting a proper console that's made for playing games like Apex. Like Nintendo's great, don't get me wrong. I'm not hating on
Yeah, no,
Nintendo. It's
I
just that
totally get what you
the
mean.
Nintendo console is good for Nintendo games. The Nintendo console is not,
Yeah,
and some indie games as well. But
right.
Nintendo console is not good for any other game other than Nintendo games and some indie games. But yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, you're good. Yeah, I've been mostly been playing Symphony of the Night. The kind of disconnect from like a Switch controller to a DualShock has been interesting to get used to, but I think I'm pretty good with it now. There are a lot of games I'm looking at, and I'm like, I should have done this a lot sooner because there's like Shadow of the Colossus that I'm looking at, both the Parappa
Oh yeah,
games.
they had like remastered Shadow Colossus a few years back. So
Yeah, and it's like games that I've loved for a really, really long time. I can finally play, and
yeah,
it's like that's exciting. But
the
yeah, I like it. I like this thing
the only thing
a lot.
that sucks is while you can play some PS3 games on PlayStation 4 and 5, you have to stream it, so you need decent internet for
Mm,
it to work. And of course,
yeah,
there's always going to be some latency and some delay between button presses when it comes to streaming stuff.
for
Um,
sure.
so it's like if you wanted to play the old God of Wars, you could. But that's why I got another PS3 so I could play
Mm,
so I could play all those PS3 games. But some PS3 games are available
right.
through streaming, I think, with like the highest tier or whatever.
Makes sense.
But yeah, if you ever want to like play some games and just try them out, eventually, like at least subscribing to the highest tier for like a month or two and trying out the games
Yeah,
that are like available with the subscription would be cool.
that's
That's
what I was thinking about doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what my friend is doing. He subscribed. Well, also, I assume you have other subscriptions that you're subscribed to as well. He
Yep.
doesn't subscribe to anything except I think Disney Plus, so he can
Oh
afford
wow.
to pay for an $18 subscription for PlayStation, and like
Yeah,
because he only has two subscriptions, and the rest of them
which makes sense.
he just uses his parents' subscriptions would make sense. So it's like if
Yeah.
you could afford it, do it. But also, I told him like if you find yourself not using all of the benefits, go down to the mid tier. That medium
Right.
tier is probably perfect for him, where it gives him access to play a bunch of games at no additional cost, similar to like Game Pass.
Mhm.
Plus, you can play certain games online, and so, a few other benefits. So like the mid tier
Yeah.
is easily the best tier.
Noted.
And
Because it's
also
like I think.
there's
Mhm.
I'm sure actually, you know what I was about to say, I'm sure it's the same with Nintendo, but I know for a fact it's not the same with
It's
Nintendo.
not.
So something, no, I'm not talking about I'm not talking about subscription tiers. I'm talking about something else.
Mhm.
Something I know that
Uh,
Nintendo doesn't do that you're gonna be so happy to experience, which I guess you've experienced it with Steam as well, actually. But
mhm.
goddamn discounts.
Oh
PlayStation
yeah.
PlayStation has so many sales all the time. Every season there's a
And then there's
sale,
like
and there's like
specific sales for like people that are subscribed with. I think is really neat. So
yes,
I got Symphony of the Night for $4,
yeah,
which is it feels criminal. It feels criminal.
yeah.
I'm not
Sometimes
mad at it
so
though.
that's how they get you though, because you'll buy like 10 games for cheap and then you won't play them for like 5 years, but at least you got them.
Right.
I have so many
Yeah.
games more on Xbox than I do on PlayStation that I bought and just haven't gotten around to playing yet. And
Mhm,
I
mhm.
started to slow down doing that. I did recently because I know I'm going to play it eventually. I bought who is it, Persona 5 Royal physically off
Right.
Amazon because it was on sale, and I was like, I just need to grab this while it's cheap.
Makes sense.
And I'll get around to playing it eventually. It's still in the plastic. I think I don't know if I took Nier out the plastic yet. I, I think it might still be in plastic. I might have taken it out.
For your own sake, leave it in. It's it's sad. It's so sad.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the advice I gave him, to like they'll get you to buy a game for like $2, and you might not play it for a long
Yep.
time. So
Mhm.
it'll always be on sale again. That's what I told him.
Right.
So you
That's real.
don't feel the need to, the moment you see something's on sale for cheap, to buy it immediately if you're not going to play it immediately or soon.
Right.
You can wait.
Makes sense.
It'll go on sale again. That's what I've been doing with a lot of games. Like I was gonna get again. I was gonna get a game on my Xbox that was on sale that I had in my wish list, and I was like, no, it's gonna go on sale again, and it's gone on
Again.
sale again several times since then. So I'm like, it's always gonna end up on sale again. So I'm gonna just wait.
Yeah, it's like with Nintendo, it's a thing of like a game will go on sale for like 20% off, which is like $2, but you gotta like Nintendo games are mad expensive. So it's like the sale isn't even worth it. So it's like I don't even want to buy it. But it's like, yeah, I am facing that problem, like the same
Yeah,
problem I had with
Nintendo's
Steam.
so
Had to let it.
weird. I don't understand why
It
they don't
is.
discount their games. Games that came out 20 years ago still cost like $60.
Yeah, it's like, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? I'm not buying it full price. I say, as I bought several Nintendo games full price
And they
anyway.
wonder why people
Because,
pirate.
yep, hmm
You either can't find the game or the game is too expensive,
right,
despite being like a 10-year
or
old game.
both, or both. Sometimes it's both, which extra sucks. But yeah, besides my PlayStation 4 adventures, what else have I been interacting with? I've been reading a lot of books. I reread This Is How You Lose the Time War and cried again. I
Yeah,
also read this
I
book
might
called
have,
The Seven and
I
hmm?
might have to borrow that one because I was like, I read it and I didn't like it that much, but I was like, maybe I just need to read more.
Yeah. It's a very like you have to be like get into it kind of book to like start enjoying it. Because when I first started reading it, I was like, this is good. This is not as good as everyone on Twitter was hyping it up to be. And then like you hit this like wall and you're like, oh yeah, no, now I understand why everyone's hyping it up on Twitter. But I did that. I read and finished this book called The Seven and a Half Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, which is a really, really good book. It's like a body hopping murder mystery type beat. It was really, really good. I don't want to spoil any of it because it's best if you go in like and read it blind, but it was a really good book. I enjoyed it. There was a new Yumeniki fan game that got released called Collective Unconscious, and I've been playing a lot of that, and that's been really fun. But other than that, I think that's it.
Yeah, so for me, uh,
Mhm.
playing Persona 3, but I'll talk about that later because I got a little bit more to say about that than usual. And same with Red Dead Redemption 2, which I started replaying.
Mhm.
So I watched the Raid 2 alongside Blind Wave. I always talk about Blind Wave. Blind Wave is YouTube channel I watch the most. But Prime, Amazon Prime, screwed me over. For some reason,
Ugh.
they only have the English dub, and I'm not a fan of watching live action movies dubbed because
Right.
was it
It's like
the raid is like Indonesian or something like that. And
mhm.
yeah, I'd already paid for it, so I watched it, but I was upset the whole time. But the action's so good in the raid. I don't know if you've ever seen the raid.
I've
Um,
not.
it's you should watch the raid and the raid 2.
It sounds
It's
like a
still
good
good.
movie.
It's some of the best action in movies. Period. It's incredible. Um,
Bet.
Blind Wave finished their watch through of Batman the Anime Series, so I finished rewatching it for the second time this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Batman the Anime Series is just good. Anybody out there who haven't seen it, watch it if you like Batman, or even if you don't like Batman, you'll like him after this. I promise you. um, but now they are on to Superman the Animated Series, which I was already in the
Ooh.
middle of watching slash just finishing for the first time. And Yeah, I left off my rewatch at the perfect spot with like four amazing two separate two parters at the end of season two, and the first two were Apocalypse Now Part 1 and 2, and as you can imagine, by the name,
Mm.
it was about Darkseid trying to invade Earth, and the story was great, and there was a very shocking death at the end that
Oh.
was very surprising for a 90s kid show. I was like, oh my god, they just murdered this character. That's crazy. This character who's been in the show this whole time. But even more than that, Jack the King Kirby's original character and environment designs for the New Gods and Apocalypse were amazingly adapted into Bruce Timm's art style for this show. And this episode is just
Mm.
beautiful. Anytime they showed stuff from New Genesis and the New Gods, which all these names I understand are foreign if you don't know what I'm talking about, but it's it's real cool. The New God, I always enjoy the cosmic side of these comic book universes, and the New Gods and the New Gods and Apocalypse are essentially the equivalent of the Eternals in Marvel. They literally were both created by Jack Kirby, and was it Thanos is also directly tied to the Eternals and stuff. And
Mm.
I think Darkseid came first, and Thanos was created by Jack Kirby, I think, as a
Oh.
version of Thanos. It was essentially the New Gods and the Eternals were created both by Jack Kirby. And I can't remember which came first, but he went to the other company and essentially was like, okay, the other company won't let me do what I want with those characters, so I'm just going to create another version of that.
Which makes
um,
sense.
and because of that, both universes have their own version of, like, they have Apocalypse. DC has Apocalypse and Darkseid and the New Gods, and uh, Marvel has Thanos and the Eternals. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, good episodes. But the last two episodes of season two were Supergirl episodes. And we,
Ooh.
and It was a slightly different origin than I'm used to for Supergirl. In this
Mm.
version, she isn't Superman's cousin. Instead, she's from a planet that's in the same solar system as Krypton. That was that was
Oh.
thrown off of its orbit by Krypton's explosion. And after Superman finds her, um, we get this really beautiful animated scene of her flying across Kansas. It's so good.
Ooh.
And by God, if I'd seen these episodes when I was younger, Supergirl would have definitely been my first cartoon crush. Because
Real.
Bruce Timm draws a ton of pinups in his spare time, and you can tell with his Supergirl design in the
Mhm.
show. If you look up like Bruce Timm Supergirl, well, if you look up that, you'll probably just find his pinup art actually. So I don't know if that's the best thing to look up. Maybe like Superman the Animated Series Supergirl, but like her design,
Oh yeah, I see.
but
Yeah,
also separate
that
from the figure. It's just a great design overall with the white
for sure.
crop top and the short cape is cool. I like her design in this.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's all I got. Moving on to animation. Uh, I think I sent you a trailer for Red Ranger becomes an adventurer in another world. Did I send you that?
You did. You did, and
Yeah,
I
so
watched
it's
it.
an isekai. But
Mm.
it's a like a Super Sentai Power Ranger character is sent to a different world, but they still have their powers.
Ooh.
And I'm real tired of these names that anime be having lately, especially isekai. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
What's going on? What's happening? Like, it could have been. You could have made it. You at the very least, you could have made it simpler and just called it Red Ranger in another world. What's up with these extra words? But it looks cool, and I feel like this is what isekai should be. They should just start
Mhm.
having a lot of fun with it,
Yeah.
and this is fun. Just having a Red Ranger is transported to this medieval world, but he still has his Power Ranger abilities. That's cool. I'd like to
It
see
is
that.
really
I
cool.
think I'm gonna check this out. It
And
comes
then
out
also,
January.
yeah, it's just like I'm tired of isekais where it's like just a harem, like,
Yeah,
and that's the plot. It's annoying.
that's
There's
what
so much you can do with the genre.
exactly. I read manhwa for that. Okay, I don't need that in isekai. I mean, in
Right.
anime. Um,
Right.
but yeah, it looks cool. Uh, I don't have too much animation. The last thing I have for animation is Batman Caped Crusader. I finished it, and it was all right. Uh, I didn't expect much, to be honest, and my expectations were
Mhm.
basically met. Um, there were some fun new takes on old characters like Harley Quinn, and then she has no connection to the Joker and is more of a serious character who's attempting to save Gotham through some very extreme therapy.
Nice,
And
nice.
the Catwoman episode was fun, and I'd love to see more of this version of the character. Where she's a rich girl who lost her fortune after her father went to prison, so she starts stealing for money, but then she begins to enjoy it
Oh.
and starts doing it for fun. And of course, she has a little flirtatious relationship with Batman, which is always fun. Um, and at the very end, we had a Two Face story, but it was so cookie cutter, and it was just basic Two Face, and it just can't hold a candle to the Two Face episodes in Batman the Animated Series, which are easily some of the best episodes in the series. Those first two Two Face episodes where he like becomes Two Face are so good. Oh my god, nothing can top that. So the fact that they even attempted was ridiculous. I don't know. I don't even know why they tried. They should have just did something completely different. Um, this show is at its best as a detective, like noir crime drama, and Renee
Mhm.
Montoya gets a lot of screen time in the show. Understandably, Greg Rucka's writing it, and she deserves, all that screen time. And I can't help but think that uh, if they were going to go with a grounded crime story, why not make this like a Gotham Central adaptation? Which Gotham Central is a
Right.
comic that stars Renee Montoya that is about the police and the corruption of Gotham City. Um,
Hmm.
and they could have just had Batman as like a recurring character that shows up in the background or like pops in to help solve crimes every now and again. But the focus is on Renee, like it is in a decent amount of these episodes. Being a cop and trying to be a good cop, but realizing that's not really possible.
Yeah.
um, and the obvious answer is just that Batman makes an infinite amount of money, so
Right.
they decided to make it a Batman cartoon. But like I don't need a grounded Batman cartoon if it's going to be less interesting versions of stories from the original Batman the Animated Series. If that's all this is going to
Yeah.
be, then don't make it. If, now I'm starting to understand why this is on HBO because I'm like, it's all it's all right. Like it's not anything special.
It's not like egregiously bad, but it's not anything that
Like
really of substance.
if you even want some Batman content, this will scratch that itch, but it's not like it's nothing special. And I wish they would have
Mm.
done something more interesting. The art style is also bland. It's very boring. It's not interesting at all. It's yeah, it's whatever. The dude who voices Batman is doing a decent job. Not the best, but not the worst. Like everything about this show is just all right, which is arguably worse than being bad. So,
Right.
like, yeah, it's strange. Um, you got anything for animation before we move on?
Um, a little thing. So the Nier Automata anime is on a small hiatus-ish thing, because there's been like some earthquake reports in Japan. So this week's episode on Friday was not an episode, but a recap episode. We got a little snippet of what's going to happen next episode, and I am so sad already. Because it's like one of my favorite parts of the game, but it's also one of the saddest parts of the game at the same time. And I'm not looking forward to seeing that happen, but I am, but I'm not. And hopefully I hope everything is like okay over there and like it all gets worked out, and I am willing to wait as long as it takes for this new episode to come out.
Yeah. Uh, Moving on to comics. My Hero released its final chapter, chapter 430. Yeah, a lot of people are clowning it, talking about some it's all for nothing instead of all for one, all for one, which is really funny. And yeah, it's hard to end a story, and the way that they work over in Japan is insane. So the fact that he pumped out a decent story overall under that pressure is a miracle in of itself. Like
Mhm.
Kohei Hiro Koshi deserves some praise. Okay, the series
Yeah.
did lose a ton of steam towards the latter half, but when it was good, it was damn good. Um,
Mm.
he deserves a much needed break, but I am excited to see what he works on next. Hopefully, something much shorter. Um,
Yeah.
and honestly, I'd love to see him work on some American comics in some form or fashion, whether it is just art or
Ooh,
art and writing would be really fun.
that would be fun.
Chainsaw Man. The
Mm.
insanity is back.
Oh yeah.
Fujimoto is back on his shit, and I'm excited to see where the story is going. It's been getting wild. Have you caught up yet? Have you been reading it
I
at
haven't
all?
caught up yet, but I have been seeing the stuff that's happening, and it's insane.
Yeah, some wild stuff's happening. Chainsaw Man.
It's making me want to catch up for
Yeah.
sure.
So, Marvel Unlimited is having a Deadpool and Wolverine promo deal where if you use the code Besties at checkout, you get 3 months for $3. And 1 month is
Oh.
usually $9.
Oh.
So yeah, this isn't an ad, but if Marvel Unlimited wanted to sponsor us, I would be mad. But because I've been reading some more Marvel comics, I read the last 2 issues of. I always forget the writer's name for some reason on this Daredevil run. Let me look it up real quick. Chip Zdarsky. I always forget his name for some reason. But yeah, I
Oh.
finished Chip Zdarsky's run on Daredevil, and it was good. It's probably gonna go down as one of the greatest Daredevil runs of all time, if not the best. It was real good. I hopped back into Mighty Thor, and I'm mad that I
Mm.
didn't read this chapter last time because it was like the end of an arc. um, but I like I stopped reading on that chapter, and then I read it finally, and I had to like kind of catch myself up and remember what was happening, and then it ended, and then the next chapter is something new, and I'm like, oh, I should have just read this chapter last time. Like now, I'm gonna start making sure that when I'm reading things, I end at the end of arcs or a good stopping
Right.
point, so that when I pick it back up, I'm not confused.
That
Um,
makes sense.
but after X-Men '97 and Deadpool and Wolverine, I've been wanting to get into some X-Men comics, and I've decided
Ooh.
to do that through Magic, and the New Mutants, because of Marvel
Nice.
Rivals, where she's my main. So I read her miniseries from the '80s, written by Chris Claremont, with which chronicles her origin, and it's dark. Uh,
Ooh.
I know that they failed with the New Mutants movie, which they tried making a horror movie, but they need to bring back Anya Taylor Joy with a big check and try again with a solo magic movie, because a horror oriented
Mm.
magic movie directed by Sam Raimi would go crazy. Yeah, this
True.
magic comic is good, and I'm excited to hop into New Mutants pretty soon. Um, some comics I've bought physically.
Mm.
Ultimate Black Panther #6 is getting good. It's revealed that Killmonger and Storm are in a relationship in this universe, so I'm excited for that to
Ooh.
get messy once T'Challa butts in, uh, and maybe that's how this version of Killmonger turns evil. On the flip side, we have T'Challa realize that Wakanda needs to use their resources to help all of Africa if they want to avoid losing the war to Ra and Khonshu, who are using their powers to help and recruit soldiers for their army. Uh,
Mm.
in Ultimate Spider-Man #4, Peter and Harry unlock their suits' AIs, and Harry makes his behave like his father, due to some deep-rooted dad issues, and Peter makes his behave like himself. So we have an in-universe reason for why Peter talks to himself, which is funny.
Oh.
um, and the Ultimates #2 and #3, #2, the Ultimates storm the Capitol to save America, and I'll leave it at that because it's funnier that way.
Oh.
Um, and in #3, we get the Hulk kaiju I've always wanted. Uh, in this universe, Bruce Banner is a villain, and he nuked some. I can't tell, and I didn't look it up if it's specifically Hawaii or if it was just like a cluster of Polynesian islands. Either way, he nuked that. He nuked like the Polynesian area, to experiment with gamma radiation, creating what is now called Monster Island. And the native
Mm.
people either die or become monsters that are constantly in pain. Um,
Oh.
they are protected by this universe's Hulk, who is a woman who got luckier than most and just got real big and real strong and got gray
Mm.
skin, and that's it. um, and was it Thor, Sif, and Iron Man, or Iron Lad as he's called in this? Because in this universe, Tony Stark's father was Iron Man, and he became Iron Lad, and yeah, they went there to try and. Actually, I don't know why they went there. The story didn't even really explain, but they went there and then came across these people. I guess hoping to recruit some people to help them fight against the evil people that are trying to take over the world. Um,
Makes sense.
but so we got a ton of exciting DC comic news from DC's most recent solicits. Um, and we're going to start with the official synopsis for Justice League Unlimited. Um,
Oh.
the Justice League is back and bigger than ever. In the wake of Absolute Power and the DC All In special, Darkseid's death. Whoa, I didn't know that was a thing. Thanks for the spoiler, I
Oh.
guess. I don't care.
Yeah.
But that's wild to put a big spoiler for a story that hasn't
in the
come out yet,
description.
because this comic isn't coming out for a couple of months, and the comic that they were referencing also hasn't come out yet.
Oh no.
So yeah, that's weird. After Darkseid's death has triggered a massive power vacuum in DCU, and Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman must unite like never before and expand the Justice League to encompass every hero championing the forces of good in the face of incredible evil. As our heroes work to uncover the mystery of the Dark Lord's successor, Ray Palmer's Atom Project triggers a race between heroes and villains to control the fate of the metahuman abilities on planet Earth, which threatens to destroy everything the League has built. Worlds will live, worlds will die, and a surprise is waiting in store on the last page. Do not miss the dawn of a new era of justice. It all begins here. Written by Mark Waid and drawn by Dan Moore. Easily the best writer and artist in comics that's alive, most likely.
Nice,
like, they're so
nice.
good. So Dan Moore is essentially the modern day Jim Lee. Like how Jim Lee redesigned all the X-Men, and those have become like the most iconic looks for a lot of those characters. Dan Moore has been doing that with like every DC character, is redesigning them into like their best versions, that everybody is like, this is the best this character has ever looked. Dan Moore is
nice.
And this confirms that they are doing what the cartoon did, and it's expanding the Justice League to the entirety of the superhero community, and not just on Earth but the universe, because Darkseid did, and now people are trying to like fill that power vacuum. So that's cool. I'm glad
really
they're finally doing this. But in addition to that, we got an announcement of a bunch of new comics that I'm so goddamn excited for. The first is Black Canary, the best of the best. The synopsis is the match of the millennium. It's Black Canary versus Lady Shiva to determine who is the single greatest hand-to-hand fighter in the universe. Who will walk away with the title? Find out as writer Tom King, who wrote Wonder Woman, Supergirl Tomorrow, and Ryan Sook goes as an artist, goes 6 rounds to see if our heroes has what it takes to be the best of the best. And by 6 rounds, they mean this will be 6 issues, miniseries. But nice. Tom King wrote Supergirl One of Tomorrow. He's currently writing Wonder Woman. Supergirl One of Tomorrow is one of the best comics I've read in the last few years. And Wonder Woman, his current Wonder Woman run is so goddamn good. You've heard me talk about it. It's so good.
I have. I remember.
Tom King, he's great. And he's described this as being to Black Canary what Supergirl One of Tomorrow was to Supergirl, and going through the history of the character, and just being this really emotional story with a bunch of really good fighting, because a big part of Black Canary's character that Black Canary is a weird character where she's easily like maybe like a low B tier, but all it would take is a really good movie for her to become A tier.
Nice.
And like, she, for the longest time, or not for the longest time, still currently, she's like one of the best hand-to-hand fighters in DC Universe. She's better than Batman. She'll put hands on Batman. Batman's fighting ability gets overhyped. He's up there. Don't get me wrong. He's top 10 easily, maybe top 5. But there are several heroes better than him. One of them is Black Canary. One of them is a hero I'm about to get to next, and one of them is Lady Shiva, who, of course, they're saying Black Canary's fighting to see who's the best. But I would argue, and I think most people would agree, that the person whose comic I'm about to talk about next is the best fighter in the DC universe, and that's Batgirl, Cassandra Cain, who's finally getting a new comic again. A lot of people don't know this. There's a lot of things, I've said it before about comics, where it's like some characters and comics that are considered popular amongst people who read comics still have not been adapted for the average consumer. So a lot of people don't even realize the type of stuff that they're missing out on in terms of popular comic book characters. And Cassandra Cain Batgirl is one of them. And she's similar to Tim Drake Robin, where people get so confused about Tim Drake. Some people think he's the second Robin because in Batman the Animated Series he was the second Robin, even though in the comics he's the third Robin after Jason Todd. And he had the longest running solo Robin comic. And in the comics, he's really the most popular person to hold the mantle of Robin specifically. Because Dick's gone on to become popular beyond Robin, whereas he is the most popular person as Robin. And it's the same thing with Batgirl and Cassandra Cain. She is the most popular Batgirl. She had the longest running Batgirl comic, and now she's getting a new one. Um, so hold on to your seats, clutch your pearls, and rejoice in celebration because Cassandra Cain is taking center stage in her first solo Batgirl series in nearly 2 decades. When a deadly group of assassins shows up to kill Cassandra, Lady Shiva comes to the rescue, and they must put their complicated past aside and work together as mother and daughter to ensure they make it out alive. That's right, if you didn't know, Lady Shiva is Batgirl's mother.
Oh.
Unfortunately, things are never as easy as they seem, and Cass must embark on a jaw-dropping martial arts-filled adventure in her quest for truth and justice and revenge. It's a Batgirl book like never before, so join us as we dive into the psyche of one of Gotham's deadliest fighters while exploring her deep and complex relationship with her mother. Written by Tate Bromble and art by Takeshi Miyazawa. I'm excited for this. It sounds like it's going to be good. Another martial arts focused one. Yeah, Lady Shiva again involved. Just Lady Shiva's going to be involved in 2 series. Next, we got Black Lightning. Black Lightning is back, and this time it's a family affair. Jefferson Pierce leads the Justice League's new metahuman outreach initiative, helping those with powers before they can cause harm to themselves or others. But everything changes when it's his own daughter, Anissa Pierce, who comes to him for help. With Thunder's dangerous new powers and the new masters of disaster jeopardizing the coexistence between humans and metas, Black Lightning is on the front lines of a culture war brewing in the suburbs of Metropolis.
Oh boy.
Black Lightning is interesting because I'm really, they could do some really dope stuff with Black Lightning in live action, because Black Lightning is from essentially the poor part of Metropolis, called like the nickname is, they call it Suicide Slums.
That's interesting.
Exactly. And they could tell a really interesting story where they, in a comic called The Other History of DC Universe, which tells kind of like a version of a bunch of characters of color, DC characters of color stories, as if they were happening in real time, like from the year that they were created up until the day that book came out. Like I think it was like during the pandemic it came out. So it's a telling story of Black Lightning in the 70s, going through I think actually starts in the 60s, then the 70s, and like the 80s and 90s.
Oh wow.
And the very last, it starts with Black Lightning. I think the second issue is, I don't remember the order, but it starts with Black Lightning, and then it ends. It ends with his daughter Thunder. And in between that, you get Bumblebee and Mal Duncan, and you get Renee Montoya, and you get Katana, and then but the first and last stories are directly connected because you have Black Lightning and then his daughter. And in that, they have a moment where he like kind of like talks down to Superman, like, Superman, you out here saving the world, but you're not paying attention to Suicide Slums over here in Metropolis. And they could do something real interesting with that in live action. But yeah, I'm excited for Black Lightning comic. So and finally, so Black Lightning has 2 daughters, Thunder and Lightning. Thunder has like super strength. Lightning has the same powers as Black Lightning, but I think they're stronger. Or the difference is that Black Lightning is a battery, and he absorbs electricity, where she just straight up generates it. And for a long time, her design was ass. If you look up DC Comics Lightning, it's horrible. It's just, she just looks like a ball of lightning, and it's not great. And they finally changed it, and it looks good now. They give her an actual costume instead of her just being like a naked lightning person. She has a costume, good. And now she looks more like have you seen Spectacular Spider-Man?
I have.
She kind of looks like Electro in that, where like he's wearing a costume, but like his skin is covered in electricity. But yeah, except that she can turn it off. But she used to not be able to. So last but certainly not least, but I would say second most excited after Justice League Unlimited is the question all along the Watchtower. Who watches the Watchtower? In the wake of absolute power, the Justice League Unlimited has created a haven for all heroes, but can they keep it secure? Enter Renee Montoya, reeling from an abrupt end to her time in Gotham and looking for a place to hang her hat. But the Trinity didn't bring her up to the Watchtower to relax. There's a dark threat bubbling underneath the surface, and only the Question and her ad hoc support team stand a chance of figuring out who the problem is before it's too late. Written by Alex Agur, and with art by Cyan Tormi. I love the question. I love her
Ooh.
name, Montoya. I'm excited for this. But yeah, that's all I got for comics. Like I said, I ended up adding a bunch because I was like, because at first I had cut this out, and then when I realized the episode was going to be short without it, I was like, let me just throw this in here.
Mhm.
So moving on to TV and film, I sent you a trailer for Kraven the Hunter, and
You did.
it actually looks kind of sick. Much like a Venom, this at the very least will be a dumb fun action movie, and
Right.
as long as it's that, I'm gonna enjoy it. Rhino in this is like an actual Rhino man, which is interesting. Uh,
No.
yeah, I'm interested in this movie. I wouldn't say excited, but I think I'll see this in theaters. So D23 happened. I think it happened. I don't know if it's still happening because there was like no hubbub around it. It kind of just happened, and then trailers were leaked, and that's it.
Right.
Honestly, it's weird because usually during D23, they also release the trailers. They don't, at least in my memory, they also release the trailers. But now the trailers have to be leaked because like they just refuse to release them. Like, just give us the goddamn trailers. So
Yeah.
I sent two of them to you.
Yep.
It was the first one was for Daredevil Born Again, and
Uh-huh.
it looks good.
Yeah.
And I hope that it actually is. We see White Tiger, who is a lesser known hero from Marvel Comics, and this isn't even the most famous person to hold the mantle of White Tiger. So we'll probably see that version of the character eventually. I hate to spoil it, but this version of White Tiger is probably going to die.
Oh no.
Because he's not the most famous version, so they're probably going to use his death to motivate the other one. uh,
Mm.
we also see some returning characters. We saw Punisher and Bullseye, played by the same actors. And it's rumored that Elektra will be returning, played by the same actress.
Ooh.
And yeah, this has all the makings of another good Daredevil show. But let's see if they actually stick the landing, because I know early on, and when they were starting to make the show, first and foremost, they just straight up weren't going to bring back any of the actors except the actor who played Daredevil and Kingpin.
Really?
They weren't gonna bring back any of the supporting cast, and then everybody was like, "What the are you talking about, Disney? What is
Right, like that feels
what is
counterproductive.
the point of bringing in that audience of people who love the Daredevil show on Netflix and saying that this is a continuation of that show, but then recasting the like half of the like majority of the characters except for the lead hero and villain? That's stupid. And then eventually they brought back all the other actors like they should have from the beginning.
Right.
And then apparently the story was going to be stupid, something weird. And
Oh.
then it got rewritten. So it's like, I don't know, man. I hope it's good. I hope ultimately all those changes result in something good rather than something messy.
Yeah.
But we also got a leak of the Thunderbolts trailer.
Ooh.
I didn't particularly care for this movie, but after seeing the trailer, this might be the actual Winter Soldier successor as opposed to
Oh.
Captain America 4. So after finding out this movie was full of characters with the same skill set and backstory, everybody was concerned, including me. But it seems like that may make for a great story. It's just another case of, sure, it might ultimately turn out to be good, but this isn't really the Thunderbolts like what the Thunderbolts is in the comics. In the comics, the Thunderbolts is basically like the evil Avengers. But in this one, it's just a bunch of super soldiers and super spies and assassins, all with the exact same skill sets. Fighting, like forming a team together by the U.S. government. But writers from The Bear and the Netflix show Beef are working on it, so that has me
Oh.
real interested because both of those shows are great. Uh, which Stephen Yeun was actually supposed to play a character in this movie named the Sentry. The Sentry is basically one out of three of Marvel's Superman equivalents. But now he's being played by Lewis Pullman, who I've seen in Top Gun Maverick. It'll be interesting to see how these super soldiers, assassins, and spies deal with one of Marvel's most powerful characters. I feel like that's an interesting dichotomy. I wonder how that'll work. He also has a wild story in the comics that I wonder how much of that they'll adapt. The costume design in this movie sucks ass. I didn't think it could get much worse. In fact, I thought they were getting better, but good God, no, they are not. The costumes look bad. the hair and makeup. Well, the makeup looks fine. The hair, bad. I don't know who decided for these haircuts on half these characters. It just doesn't like the costumes just look bad, except for U.S. Agent because he has the exact same costume he had in in Falcon and Winter Soldier, which was a good costume. It's just the same costume except the blue parts are now black, and it looks good.
Right.
Everybody else's costume sucks.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It looks good. I hope it's good. I want to see it. I think it's supposed to be out next year. Oh, I think that makes sense. If they're going to show a trailer for a movie, it's probably coming out next year.
Yeah.
But yeah, a bunch of well, have you seen Deadpool and Wolverine yet?
No, I haven't.
Well, a bunch of like concept art for like some of the costumes came out, and specifically Wolverine, and I'm upset because this happens every time. This happens every time. Just don't release concept art because it's always going to make people angry. They always make concept art that looks so comic accurate, but for some reason the final design is always ass, man. What's the name of the concept artist I follow? I can't remember because I follow Andy Park. As soon as I opened my phone, I got concept art for Deadpool Wolverine. That's hilarious. I'm gonna send you a post from Andy Park that has a Wolverine costume design, like the main one, that we see in the trailers, and yeah, you're gonna be upset when you see this because don't follow him, at least not yet, because you'll get spoiled in the movie.
Spoilers, right?
But I'm gonna send you this Instagram post because it's absolutely insane. Look at this costume and then like look at that. Because here's the thing: you see the stripes, the tiger stripes, and they look like actual stripes instead of these like obscure, vague looking things that they were doing before. And imagine this without the sleeves. Oh my god, it would be so good. Like, why do they always choose the worst versions every single time? Without
clue.
It's so weird. I don't understand why they do this, but yeah, you need to see that movie. I've seen it twice now. I was supposed to see it the third time, but I didn't.
I watched it. Trust.
So, if you don't have anything for TV and film,
I don't think I do. No.
Moving on to video games. Ready at Dawn was shut down by Meta. So, Ready at Dawn is known for working on some PSP games, God of War, Chains of Olympus, and Daxter, which is a Jack and Daxter spinoff, which is Daxter. Which is crazy that those was it both Jack and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank did that, where like the smaller sidekick character got their own spinoff. But most famously, they worked on The Order 1886, a game that I talk about needs a sequel all the time. And yeah, it sucks. All these studios always getting shut down. They were relegated to a support studio and making VR games. But if I was PlayStation, I'd scoop them up and have them make another Order game because Order is so good. And I was thinking about it recently about how after Hellblade 2 came out, a lot of people were comparing the two games because they're similar in the sense that they're like very story driven and like linear games that I kind of feel like playing movies in a way. But I think a way that The Order could separate itself from that while still being super cinematic and fun and like just making better gameplay because the gunplay in that game was fun is that it like at its core it's a cover shooter. So they would be better off taking a lot of inspiration from Gears of War in terms of combat and potentially adding a multiplayer similar to Gears of War. So The Order could do well if they did something like that. Bring it back, take some inspiration from Gears of War in terms of the gameplay and then give it a multiplayer. That could be dope.
Yeah.
But they're definitely not gonna do that. But what gives me a little bit of hope of something like that happening is the fact that Tango Gameworks was taken over and revived by PUBG publisher Krafton with plans to expand Hi-Fi Rush. This is the team that made Hi-Fi Rush. They got axed by Xbox. They got saved by the publisher behind PUBG.
Nice.
And was it Wolf Nanaki on Twitter says it's not just that they bought Tango Gameworks and are revitalizing Hi-Fi Rush, but also that they rehired all the employees that were laid off in an industry that's currently bleeding employees with mass layoffs every other week. This is a huge deal.
Yeah. For sure.
Which makes me go like, PlayStation, come on, just buy Ready at Dawn and have them make a Order 1887 or something.
Right.
But the article from Games Press says There will be no impact on the existing game catalog of Evil Within, The Evil Within 2, Ghostwire Tokyo, and the original Hi-Fi Rush game. But does that mean that they're getting all these IPs, or will Xbox still have them? I think not. I think they only have Hi-Fi Rush. But I wish they snatched up The Evil Within as well, because I don't know if Xbox is going to do anything with those IPs.
Probably not.
Yeah, but I might replay and finish Hi-Fi Rush when I have the time now, because it is because it was fun when I played it. It just wasn't necessarily my style, but it's a short game, so I might just push through it, check it out.
Yeah.
So moving on to some indie games. The Eternal Life of Goldman. The Eternal Life of Goldman is a vibrant yet dark platformer adventure that weaves together legends, fairy tales, and myths. Explore a vast, hand-drawn archipelago inspired by ancient fables and depicted in classic frame-by-frame animation, and defeat a mysterious deity. This has a great art style. I don't know if you remember this trailer, but
I do.
Yeah, it just looked really cool, and I was just like, "This
Yeah.
we're getting a lot of like 2D side-scrolling like Metroidvanias, and yeah, it's cool." Eric's Home. Experience an isometric, narrative-driven stealth game and join Hana's adventure in the vibrant city of Eric's Home. The mysterious disappearance of her brother Herman ignites a chain of catastrophic events that will forever change their lives and the fate of the entire city. So I added this to my notes just so that I could say that games shouldn't look this real. It's unnerving. I clicked on the trailer for this because I saw it and I was like, is this a game or a movie? And I watched it and I was like, what the hell? Who decided that these faces should look so real? Stop this. No one told you to do this, okay? This is an affront to God. Stop this, okay?
Affront to God is crazy word.
Retro Realms, Halloween, and Ash vs. the Evil Dead. Boston Games Retro Realms turns two of the most iconic horror film franchises into a 16-bit platformer, and it looks kind of cool. It is an action platformer. One, they're both separate games; they're not together. A Halloween one where you play as Michael Myers, and Ash vs. Evil Dead one where you play as Ash fighting a bunch of Deadites. And yeah, it looks cool.
Fun.
Very surprising, and it'd be cool if this team like added just more horror franchises to this game. That would be really interesting. Like I could like an Alien, because there's like an old school like arcade Alien vs Predator game. If they did this with Alien vs Predator and you played like a Predator fighting a bunch of Xenomorphs, that'd be pretty cool.
That would be sick.
Or a human fighting a bunch of Predators and Xenomorphs would be cool. Yeah, this comes out October 18th on everything.
Nice.
So we got a cinematic trailer for Dead by Daylight cross Castlevania.
Yeah.
Dracula is being added as a killer, and it was revealed in this trailer that Trevor Belmont is being added as a survivor, which is very fun.
Very fun.
Like the trailer opens with him reaching for his whip and it's gone, and he's like, "Oh no, I can't fight back this time." So I sent you a trailer for Fortnite Absolute Doom, and it upsets me every time I see this. Well, go ahead.
I was gonna say I am not a Fortnite enjoyer. I'm not good at FPS games. I tried playing it. I just couldn't get into it. This is making me kind of want to playing Fortnite as much as I hate to admit.
They keep adding all this cool stuff to a game that I do not want to play.
I want to play you get me. I feel so seen.
And Dr. Doom's theme song in this game, in Fortnite of all things, goes unnecessarily hard. I don't know why they gave Dr. Doom such a good theme song in Fortnite of all places. But Epic Games needs to make other games. Make other games. Stop just putting more things in Fortnite and just make new games.
Excuse me.
But
Excuse me. Excuse me.
3 in a row. 4 in a row is crazy work.
Yeah.
But
the sneezer. Sorry about that.
But Marvel Rivals, the beta ended a while back, but towards the end, I tried out Iron Man, and he was super fun to play. His repulsor blasts create like explosions when they hit the ground, so they can hit several people at once. And because he flies, you can easily escape combat. And lastly, his ultimate is just a giant like bomb that one-shots most characters. So as the moment the team groups up and you got your ultimate, you just shoot it, they're all dead. Yeah, it was great. So Persona 3 Reload, I got
Mhm.
that Persona 3 bug back in me. And
Nice.
I've got Koromaru on the team, and he's just melting through these shadows.
I was gonna say, Koromaru is so cracked.
Koromaru
He was cracked in the original Persona, but like,
just destroys everything he touches. This sweet little pupper just destroys everything. Yeah, Koromaru
absolutely
is
cracked. That's why I love him
he's the goat. Um,
for sure.
I no longer plan on like necessarily trying to beat it before Metaphor Refantasia comes out.
Mhm.
Because I don't think I'll be playing that on release because I want to be able to dedicate a decent amount of time to it when I start it.
Right. Makes sense.
Because games with so many mechanics can be hard to jump back into after a long time. And I
Mhm.
want to have enough time to get a good grasp on the mechanics so that I can play it at the pace I am Persona 3 without getting confused every time I pick the controller back up and be like, what am I doing?
Right.
How do you play this game? Because this game has too many mechanics, okay? And I'm dreading once I get back into Persona 5 eventually.
Mhm.
Because I'm remembering some of those what are they called? The like other world places.
Oh, mementos?
No, not mementos.
No, no.
The ones that like the individual people have. I forget what they're called. Yeah,
Palaces.
palaces. I was gonna say castle. But
Yeah,
yeah,
close enough.
some of those palaces are ass. Like what is it?
Yeah.
The space one sucks so
Yeah.
much. I did not manually go through that. I looked up a guide because
A lot of people did. Like
who
it's bad.
it's the same thing that they did in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth with goddamn Gongaga. You don't make traversal a puzzle in a game that's not a platformer. This is an action RPG. Why the actually it's not an action RPG. It's a JRPG. Why the hell? If it was an action RPG, I'd understand a little bit better. But
Right.
why the hell in a JRPG are you making me do goddamn platforming puzzles? Get out of my face with this bullshit.
You know what though? In saying something about action RPGs, you made me remember another thing, but I'll bring that up later.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm having fun with Persona 3.
That's good. That's good.
Getting close to summer ending, getting to that fall semester.
Mm.
But yeah, Red Dead Redemption 2. Tony Sadavici, a content creator, known for making skits, his most famous being the one that resulted in the black people soundbite that's used online all the time. He started a playthrough of Red Dead Redemption 2 and he sucks. He's not good at the game. He's a very impatient gamer, and Red Dead Redemption 2 is not a game for impatient gamers.
Impatient, yeah.
So I decided to replay it myself. And not because of him. Well, because of him, but not because he sucks. Because
Makes sense.
it got me being like, man, this game's good. Watching him play it, I'm just like, man, I remember how good this game was. But yeah, it did sound like I was saying, yeah, he sucks. So I had to play it just to show myself how this game needs to be played. But yeah, I started to replay years back, but never finished it. But now I'm a much different gamer than I used to be. It's weird when I started like watching him play it and then sat down and played it myself. I started thinking about how differently I play games compared to how I played games back in 2018, which was like 6 years ago. Was that 6 years ago?
God.
Yeah, that's 6 years ago. That's wild.
That is insane to me.
And yeah, I'm not just like I am like a more skilled just gamer due to practice and experience, but also I'm a more meticulous gamer than I used to be.
For sure.
A game that also came out in 2018 was God of War, and in that game I did like all the side quests and tried my best to 100% the game, but eventually I gave up, and I was fighting that last Valkyrie, the Valkyrie Queen, and that was rough. It wasn't until years later, like right before Ragnarok came out, that I came back and decided that I was going to beat the Valkyrie Queen, and I sat down and did it. One of the hardest boss fights I've ever had in my life, harder than some of the Elden Ring boss fights I've had. But in Ragnarok, I've almost 100%. The only reason I haven't is because some of the other stuff that I need to 100% is just hard to find, so I just stopped. But I'm like basically like 99% done with that game because I went through and did everything I could. Like I said, much more meticulous with the way I game, and I know how to like pace myself and take my time. Especially when the game has a main story, and then once you beat the main story, you can go back out into the world and do stuff. I also obsessed with games more now. When like I will get obsessed with one game and just play that game.
Mhm.
And I also find myself going back and just obsessing with a game again and replaying it. Like I did it with Dishonored.
Right.
I did it with Resident Evil the year that it came out, which is insane for me to be like. I played the game, finished it, immediately played it again from beginning to end. And then like 4 months after that, decided, damn, you know what would be good right now? If I played Resident Evil from beginning to end again. Resident Evil 4 is so good. Play Resident Evil 4 remake now that you got a PS4 actually. Actually, I don't know if it's on PS4.
Oh, I might. I just might.
It might not be on PS4. But yeah, it's
We'll
a good
see.
game. But RE2 remake is. You can play that one. And RE3 remake.
Nice.
And Resident Evil 7 and 8. So pretty much everything except Resident Evil 4 remake is on PS4. Literally every Resident Evil except Resident Evil 4 remake.
Isn't Resident Evil 4 remake also on PC? Because I can play that too.
Oh yeah, you're right. It is a PC. Yeah. You can play it there. Yeah, Resident Evil 4 remake is great. I couldn't suggest it more. So is Dead Space, which I also played again from beginning to end immediately after I finished it.
I fond childhood memories of Dead Space. And by fond childhood memories, I mean being terrified to go
that game's horrified.
While someone was playing it, yeah.
I started playing games with headphones on with Dead Space because I was like, I gotta immerse myself. And I immersed myself, and it was horrifying.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just taking my time with Red Dead Redemption 2. Taking things slow.
Nice.
And just enjoying this game for the second time through. And it feels like I'm playing a whole new game with the way I'm playing it now. It's real fun.
Ooh.
But yeah, you got anything for games?
Yes, I do. So my girlfriend bought Liza P and is playing it. And I'm watching her play it because it's fun. I'm not good at Souls-likes. I forgot that it was a Souls-like, first of all. But like I said, I'm not good at Souls-like. I don't have the patience for it. So I'm watching her play it instead. It's a really good game.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of really good things about it. Apparently it's the closest thing to Bloodborne since Bloodborne.
Oh wow, I didn't know that, but I can see it, like especially aesthetically. Like it's a gorgeous game, and we've been having a lot of fun with it. We just got past a boss that she was stuck on for a really, really long time. And that's one thing about Lies of P compared to other Soulsborne games I've seen. The dodging kind of sucks. Like not even kind of sucks. It really sucks, and it's not as snappy, responsive as dodging in most other Soulsbornes that I've seen.
I think they want you to parry more in Lies of P.
Lies of P, yeah, probably. It also leads to being super frustrating at points. Yeah,
I played the demo a while back. The vast majority of Souls-likes are just not for me. Elden Ring was the first one that actually I found fun. Most of them I just don't like. But even that, we've had a conversation. Action, like Souls-like, is not the pinnacle of action combat in games.
This is true.
We need to start going back. You know what came out recently that actually we should talk about before we wrap things up? Black Myth Wukong. Actually, no, it's not out. Oh yeah, it's not out yet, but reviews are out because it comes out. It comes out soon, and it's not. So they've been saying from the beginning it's not a Souls-like, but a lot of people kept thinking it was. But the combat is basically like an action game, but combined with like the difficult boss fights of like the bosses are basically built like Souls bosses, but the combat is like an action, like a hack and slash.
Everybody's saying it's like Neo, if you remember that game.
Yeah, but Neo's weird. Neo makes me afraid for the future Ninja Gaiden because I'm like, I would like, because it's made by the same team, and they haven't made a new Ninja Gaiden because they're too busy making Neos and Wolongs and was it Rise of Ronin? And I'm like, just make goddamn Ninja Gaiden 4, goddammit. But I don't like the way those games play. So I'm hoping that Ninja Gaiden 4 doesn't play like those games and it instead plays like a Ninja Gaiden game. I'm real afraid. I want them to take the level design of those games and put into Ninja Gaiden 4, but I'm concerned that they might make the combat like those games as well, which ultimately I would still play it, I would still enjoy it, but it wouldn't be what I want.
Yeah. That's real.
But yeah, this game has like the way that the combat works is you mostly do a bunch of light attacks to build up this bar that lets you do either enhance your light attacks or do heavy attacks that are really cool. And all the animations are just really good. And there's this move that I've seen in a lot of trailers and seen in these reviews where like he extends his staff while he's on top of it, and then it goes into the air, and then he flips it over while he's in the air, and then slams it down, and it's so good. And I'm just like,
Ooh,
man,
that sounds sick.
if only I wanted to play this game. I don't. Maybe if it's on like super sale, I'll check it out. But like,
Uh-huh.
it's not. I'm not interested enough to want to buy it at full
That's
price.
real.
But the combat looks so cool though. But everything else just doesn't interest me. About the game, I
Mm.
do like Ranger West. I like the
Mhm.
setting and stuff, and the bosses look cool. But just I don't know, something about it just doesn't interest me as much as I'll watch people play it though. I'm sure it'll be really fun to watch people play.
Oh,
Um,
for sure.
but I want this game to do well so that this studio can just make more games. But also, based on the
Yeah.
reviews, the game is damn near a boss rush basically. Whereas like,
Oh.
which is interesting take on this type of game.
Mhm.
And if it does well, which I think it will, and the reviews are good. Like it has its flaws, but people are giving it like it has essentially. At the end of the day, it's probably going to have a solid 8 when all the reviews are out. Because most reviewers are giving it like an 8 or maybe a little bit over an 8. Um, so if this game does as well as it seems like it will, this studio will make
Mhm.
more games. Which this is a Chinese developer. What do you call it? Game Science is the name of the studio. They'll make more games and more games like this that they'll learn from the mistakes made in this game that a lot of reviewers talk about in terms of
Mhm.
just the level layout and how it's sometimes too linear and the fact that it's a boss rush and things like that, um, and make better games in the future. And I'm excited to see what this studio does in the future because this game looks cool and I'll enjoy watching people play it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I got. I'm Dijon. You can find my ads above me, and here's that above them. Don't forget to like, comment,
Yay.
and subscribe to our channel if you want to see more storytelling content, and to click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. Peace.
See ya.